Hi everyone, hope you're having a great week. Today we'll be looking at how audio and visual media has changed from its early days, as well as what we can learn from its transformation. Specifically, we'll be looking at the mediums of radio and TV and how the early days of their development compared to the present time. So yeah, let's get started. During the 1940s and 1950s, the world was essentially in a state where it was just beginning to discover radio and TV as forms of mass media and ways of spreading information across the nation and even across the globe. During the 1940s and 50s, radio had become very popular, and most middle class or upper class households had at least one radio in their home, and it was a popular pastime. And television was just beginning to become popular with the middle class during the 1940s and 50s. So, and originally, radio and TV and people's habits with using the media were fit into their traditions and their kind of preconceived ideas about of how they lived their lives. Instead of centering their lives around radio and TV, they kind of fit radio and TV into their lives, so to speak. Radio was immensely popular when it first came out, and by the 1940s and 50s, it had kind of swept the nation and was kind of the main source of entertainment media that existed at the time. And yeah, radio, in addition to being used during times of leisure, people also listened to the radio sometimes when working. For example, such as when doing household chores or even like working in a barn on a farm if the barn had a working radio in it. One thing that specifically stands out about the early radio commercials is their use of melodic jingles, which my grandfather actually can still recite many of those jingles to this day. Most of the early radio programs were for primarily entertainment, and most of the shows were focused on music, dramas, or talk shows, or a combination of all three. When television first started becoming popular among the middle class, most television sets were considerably large with relatively small screens. And in addition, television screens would often have a considerable amount of static or other visual distortions, and those came to be known as snowy screens. Um, when TV first came out, many people bought TVs in the interest of watching sports games, such as my grandmother's parents, who specifically were interested in getting a TV to watch baseball games. When TV first came out, many families viewed TV watching as kind of a group activity for the whole family to enjoy, and many of the early programs reflect the values of the time as well. In addition, the Pledge of Allegiance and National Anthem were played at the beginning of each day on beginning and end of each day on notable TV channels. It's really interesting to look forward at the potential future of media while also considering the history of media and specific ways that society has interacted with media as it's been progressing. One thing that I personally think is, I personally have noticed looking back, and I think will probably stay true for the future, is that new forms of media are often first fit into people's already established habits and kind of preconceived ways of doing things, but slowly and consistently affect people's lives to the point where soon people's lives become directly affected and, and potentially even controlled by new forms of media. So yeah, it's specifically to me intriguing to think about how technology will change and how it will subsequently change us over the next few decades. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and find out. Thanks.